Hello everyone and welcome back to our GameMaker tutorial series. My name is Arif and we're going to be continuing on with our lessons in objects. As you recall from our last video, we made it so our ship, whenever the left mouse button is held, paints these bullets onto a screen. Now without movement, these really can't be called bullets, but we're going to actually spend this video giving some direction and some speed to our object. So let's close this off. And you can see in our code here, if the mouse button is being held down, then we want to create an instance layer of our zombie object bullet. And coming down here, we can see here's our object zombie bullet. And now we actually have to put all of the properties that are going to exist when this bullet is created. So one thing that we need to do is give it a direction. So we want it to face the ship's direction whenever it's fired. And for that, we're going to come here into the documentation. And one of the built-in variables is direction. And you can read here that we can use this along with the speed variable to make our bullets move in that way. Let's come back and let's find out how we're going to do that. So we're going to do direction. And you can see when it turns green, it's a built-in variable. And we're going to say equals. But we need to actually figure out the angle of the ship. And for that, we're going to come back to the documentation. And we're going to see here's point direction. In point direction, we'll take in 4 variables. You'll take in the x coordinate, y coordinate of one set, an x coordinate and y coordinate of another set, and then it will calculate the angle for you. So this is very useful for a number of reasons, particularly when you're doing enemy kind of collisions. But let's just do this right now. So we're going to do point, and we're going to see there's a built-in function, so point direction. And we're going to use that, and we're going to say x, y. You can see they're green, so they're built-in variables. These are the x and y's of the ship. As you can see up here for image angle, we saw x -4 if we're holding down. And then we also want to do the mouse, because since our look is controlled by the mouse, we want to do the mouse x. So we're going to do mouse x and mouse y. And once we do that, let's put a semicolon on the end here because good coding practices. And let's hit save and let's hit run and see how that looks. So once it finishes compiling here, we can see that, okay, we're still just painting. We still haven't really done much with this. So how are we going to actually make this move? Well, as you recall from that documentation, there is a speed variable that we need. And we need a speed that's bigger than 0. So now we can actually do that as a built-in variable as well. So once the bullet object is created, the direction is pointed. So now let's do speed as a built-in variable. And let's set speed equal to 10 pixels. So it's going to move 10 pixels every frame. Let's hit save. And let's go to run. And once that finishes compiling, we should have, oh, some movement. Look at that. Oh, wow. So we can see that we've really got this contra kind of bullet hell going on, which is fine. But we need to fix this. So you can see that it's firing to the right for some reason. This is a little bit odd. While you can control it, it just doesn't look right. We want it to fire out of the glass area of our ship. So you would think that you'd have to make another variable, but not necessarily. Since we are firing to the right, we want to use that and we want to actually make it fire from the bottom. So let's compile it one more time and I'll show you what I mean. Now you can see when we have the ship here pointed forward, you have the top, right, bottom, and left. So you just want to do in increments of 90. So let's close this and let's go to our point direction, because since this is calculating the angle, and let's say we want to do point direction and we want to do a -90. And let's save and run that again. And hopefully this will actually be firing out of the front. And oh, there we go. Simple math. Simple math has fixed this problem. So that's always good. Now we need to do one more thing, and that's to make sure our image comes out facing the right direction. We don't want the sideways zombie bullet coming. So we're just going to make our image. Let's go image angle. There we go. And we're going to just set that equal to the direction. So this way now everything comes out facing the same way. But we should also put a cooldown for our firing rate here. Let's run the compiler and let's just show you this. So this will take a second, and now that it's open, we can see here that it's just a constant stream of bullets. And this is cool. If you're gonna build a shooter like Contra, then this is one of those things that you're gonna want to have, is one of these like rapid fire every frame kind of bullets. But I really think that in terms of a stock standard bullet, you're going to want to have a slower fire rate. So we're just going to put in a cooldown. Now, I'm sure there's multiple ways you can do this, but cooldown is one of the better global ways to do a shooting game, basically because if you're going to have multiple types of ammo, you can have one cooldown and just keep manipulating it over and over again. Now, we're going to put a cooldown in here under the zombie bullet. So we're just going to call it cooldown. And we're going to set that equal to 0. Sound good? And let's see, we're getting an error here. What's this saying? This error is saying, come on, where is it? Variable is only referenced once, meaning we're not using this. It's a warning message that says, hey, you're not using this variable. Either use it or delete it. Now, we're going to come back up to our spaceship object, and we're going to say, you know, if the mouse button is down, send out the bullet or make a new bullet. And we're going to also check the cooldown. Now for cooldowns, we're probably going to want to check it here and see if the cooldown is up or not. And in programming, to do an AND, you want to just do 2 ampersands. And you can just say cooldown is less than 1. Let's just say cooldown is less than 1. Or you can say less than or equal to 0. It's really the same thing. We're going to say less than 1 for this particular instance. And there are, once again, multiple ways you can do this. This is just one way. And if we make a new bullet, we're going to say cooldown is now equal to, let's say 30 frames. So we're going to fire 2 bullets every second. Our game is naturally 60 frames per second as the game default is. So we're going to say cooldown is now set to 30 frames. And if that is set to cooldown, and if the cooldown is active, then we need an else statement. So let's do this. And we're going to say cooldown equals cooldown minus, let's reduce it by 5 frames. Let's reduce it by 5 frames every time it checks this else statement. And now let's run this, and we should see a slower bullet. Hopefully. But we don't. And why don't we see a slower bullet? If we look here at this notice, it says our variable alien object cooldown not set before reading it. Meaning that this variable doesn't exist in our spaceship. It doesn't exist at all. So we can't put our cooldown under the bullet. Now, while the bullet might seem like the natural place to do it, you have to remember it's only making an instance of each one. So we'd have to do cooldown calculations in here, in this section, but it would only be per individual bullet. We don't want that. We're going to want to move it up top. So we could do it here under our step event, but we actually probably want to do it more as a create event. Because as a create, then that way, every time it creates a new instance, it's going to have this individual variable. So let's call it cooldown and set that equal to 0. Now let's save it, and now let's try and run. And hopefully this time it should work. So it's running, and oh, look at that. Wow. See, it looks a lot smoother now. The bullets are nice and oriented. Everything's firing well. This is how you have to look at things. When you want to manipulate data, you have to figure out what source you're wanting to manipulate. So a cooldown inside the bullet could work if the bullet itself has an effect. So if you want this bullet to have a random chance to break out into more bullets, so, you know, a bullet that shoots more bullets, you can do cooldown in the instance here. But since we want to control the fire rate of the ship and we're doing the check inside the ship area, we're gonna want to do the cooldown inside the ship area. So this is the better way to do things, and really the only way you should be doing things. So there you go. That is this quick lesson on making our bullets move and giving some more properties to it. Try this out for yourself. And remember, guys, do like, comment, share, and subscribe. Make sure you hit that subscribe button mostly. Trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on this channel, and it would really help a lot. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name has been Arif. This has been another GameMaker tutorial, and I will see all of you on the next video. Bye.